they're all different and yet all the same. So we do get calls from caregivers. They don't know where to begin. They don't know where mom or dad's papers are. They don't know what services to start. So it may not be an answer right then and there that we'll be able to, solve that issue. It may be an ongoing thing. It may be a discussion for a week long that we may have with them just to help them get through that. We have individuals calling themselves. We also deal a lot with professionals from different agencies calling, knowing the services for the office. So if you don't already know, Office for the Aging has a variety of services, programs that are there. I'm sure you all are signed up for the picnic. If you live in Rhinebeck and are going to the Office for the Aging picnic, there is home delivered meals that's offered. There's health insurance counseling that's offered all year round at our office. Earlier, the program through NYSOFA, ISEP was mentioned. That is a few hours of home care a week. And the goal of that is to be able, for 60 and over that is to be able to offer the person a few hours a week to stay independent and safely in their home. So it may be 2 hours a week and that's it, but that may be all that person needs for some shopping, laundry, or cleaning. Maybe they get a personal emergency response system that they wear to keep them safe. They have case management. So as things change, they have that case manager to discuss things with and possibly need to go to other areas with that. So that's a really great program. Community service workers at our office are there for people 60 years of age and older who need assistance with applications. So that service is there. Does it seem little? Well, it's not. If you've ever filled out one of these applications, perhaps for the medical assistant or for something else, it can be daunting. And we do it so many times, and we can make the copies. We can try to help transition you. So we are there for you. This is for 60 and over. That service is there, okay? So just know that that extra hand is there for you. Since we are talking long-term services and supports, I wanted to talk a little bit about Medicaid. That is probably a third of a lot of our calls is regarding Medicaid. Someone heard of that, oh, my neighbor had that, how do you get that? So I'll just keep it brief. Can I keep it brief? Can I say that? Okay. So there's different types of Medicaid. It's medical assistance is what that is. So if you have Medicare and you know your home care is not going to be taken care of, you want to stay safely in your home, so you want to look into Medicaid. The doctor randomly said, or someone randomly may have said, oh, go apply for Medicaid. Like that's, well, there's a lot more involved to that. So that's where we can come in and talk to you on the phone and answer those questions. Yes, there is an income level. Yes, you can still get Medicaid if you're over the income level. But now let's talk about your resources. What are your resources that you have? I don't know. Well, that's a really good thing for all of us, no matter how little or medium or a lot of resources we have, is to kind of have a grasp on that, because I like to ask questions. So when you call, I may ask questions because it will be a back and forth to be able to figure out where you're at. So it's going to be, it's not just one simple answer. So if I may say, well, what are your resources? I don't know. Are they over 74,000? Are they over 14,000? So it's really important to know something like that for when you need it. So Medicaid can help assist with home care. You may know people who had to apply for Medicaid to pay for a nursing home. So there's so many questions that evolve around the medical assistance, and we're there for you. There's great websites, there's great things you can read, but sometimes having it explained kind of on an easier level might be helpful to you. So I don't know, what do you think? Yes?
When you said what are your resources and then you were talking dollars, is that all you mean by resources? Is how much money do you have coming in?
Very good. So one of the things we find is when I say, oh, I don't have any, so they'll confuse income and resources. So income is what are you pulling in every month? What's your income every month? Income is your Social Security, your pension, your retirement, your annuity. It comes in every month. That's a monthly income. Resources are your checking, your savings account, your IRA, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, anything that can be liquefied. Also resources, they ask for the cash value of a life insurance. That's a resource. So your life insurance might be $100,000, but maybe your cash value is $10,000. $10,000 you can get in a minute, that's a resource. So knowing, where you're at with that. One person, resources, $14,850. If you're over that for one person, single, Medicaid you would not be able to get. If you are under that, you would be able to get the Medicaid. For a married couple, it's $74,000 something, $74,000. So together, if your resources are $74,000 or below, one spouse can have Medicaid. The house, if you are living in your house is not a resource. It's not included as a resource. Oh, I see some faces that are like, oh, I'm probably confusing you.
Did you say 14,000 or 40?
One person, $14,850 is the resource cutoff. The couple is considered a spousal Medicaid, and only one spouse gets the medical assistance. The other spouse has to live, is still living in the home. So I'm married, I live in my home, I need help. If our resources are under the $74,000, I can get the home care I need, I can get my meals, I can get my medical transportation, maybe I need extra therapy, I can get all of the medical services that are available to me. I didn't make up the numbers, I don't know. Big gap. Yeah. Yes?
And those resources are annual figures?
The resources are at the time when you are applying, you would go to your statements and you would see how much do I have. Usually any kind of benefit program, including the medical assistance, there's what they call a recert. So once a year you would fill out a smaller application and just verify that, maybe you didn't win the lottery and now you're a millionaire or something.
She meant annualized, is that annual income and resources or monthly?
Income is your monthly income coming in. The resources is if you were to apply today, you would take the balance in your checking account, your savings account, your IRAs, what all of that is worth at that time. Does that make sense? Income is counted separately. So for income, if you're one person and your monthly income, you have Medicare, is $845 or below, you would have Medicaid, and there would be no cost for medical services. If you're one person, I live alone, I need home care, and my monthly income is $1,845, I'm over, but my resources are below, I can still get medical assistance. But now, instead of having those services at no cost, there would be what they call a spend down. It's an excess income. They take your gross income, they would deduct all your medical expenses, your Part B, your Medigap, your Part D, all of that, try to get that down as much as they can, and whatever is left, they deduct the $845 Medicaid limit from that, and that's your excess income. So the question is, I'm single, can I live on $845 a month? My insurance is paid for, that's good, because that wasn't included, but can I live in my home? Can I pay my bills? Can I buy my food? Am I ever going to go to lunch again? On this money. And if not, there are other avenues you can go. I won't get into all of that now, but there are things called pooled trusts, special needs trusts, where you can put that excess income into that trust. That trust will pay your taxes, pay those other bills for you. So all of the great important things to live safely, all of those bills are taken care of.
Is there a look-back period?
Yes, thank you. There is a look-back period for chronic care, nursing home. When you're applying for that, there is a 5-year look-back.
And for
for the home care, long-term care?
No,
No, what?
no look back.
Not at all?
No, only for the chronic care for the nursing home.
So not even a 1 month or a 3 month look back?
They ask for about, it's 3 months of statements. Yeah, but that's just yeah.
Okay, who, Medicaid?
Thank you, Donna. Yeah. As you're hearing, maybe some of you for the first time, this is not a particularly generous program, but on some level it is generous. New York is way ahead of other states in its generosity, and always has been, maybe California. So when you hear the news and they're talking about Medicaid cuts, when you hear what we heard today from Rachel about cutting the Older Americans Act, that's what funds Dutchess County Office for Aging, along with some state dollars, along with some county dollars. But it wouldn't be here without the Older Americans Act, passed back in 1965, a while back. And what a difference it's made for older adults in our country. Okay, we're going to lighten up a bit because maybe we have a little bit of a solution here. One possible solution on the wave of changes that take place with government programs, Maureen White, who's with us, she is the, your position, you're regional manager for Hamaspik. Hamaspik is Hamaspik Choice. Hamaspik Choice is one of the, I believe we have 6 in the county. Or shrinking, I know, it's all shrinking. But Hamaspik Choice is one of the Medicaid-managed long-term care programs. It's the one that Donna was referring to when she said, well, they don't all require a look back. It's a new system, and Maureen's going to tell us about it. And she comes from a very rich background where she has worked in Ulster County with the program that preceded managed long-term care that many of us thought was a wonderful program. But change is what life is all about. So, looking forward to hearing from you, Maureen.
Okay, so I'm Maureen White, like she said. I'm the regional manager for Hamaspik Choice. Hamaspik means provider in Hebrew, so you might all hear that. It's a lot to digest, and you can butcher the name however you want. As long as you're using it, that's all we care about. So what has happened, I'm going to give you a little bit of a timeline so you can understand where we were and where we are now. So it used to be, and it still is the case, that people will call Donna's office and say, I or my neighbor need home care. What do we do? And Donna or someone there, I don't want to speak for Office of the Aging, but their office is basically helping people find those services in their home. And they're letting them know that we used to provide a nurse and we used to do these services full time, but now it's basically all the plans in the area that cover it. And we're one of the plans. So if you wish to access long-term community-based care, you now have to choose a plan in order to access that if you're going via Medicaid. The only other option is either you've bought into some long-term insurance in the past and that tapped you into getting care in your home, or you're currently paying privately. So there's 3 options. You paid for some insurance a long time ago and now you're kicking it in. You're paying privately, or you're going to be in the Medicaid realm, which is where we come in. So even though there is a daunting side of applying for Medicaid, the application and the process is free. So I was looking around the room as Donna was speaking, and I'm sure most of you are diagnosing that you're not eligible. And I want to tell you that's the worst mistake that you can make, because 9 times out of 10, the people that I come across with, they live in every county in the Hudson Valley. they are eligible. And I'm not saying that's a true statistic. I'm just telling you my experience is that people think about their income or they think about their assets and they hear 845 and they say, I'm not eligible, I'm never going to get that. And then they drain all of their savings paying for private care when they were right within the cusp. So my advice that I want to start off with is applying for Medicaid is free. Our service, DONNA service, we're free. So if you call Hamaspik today and say, I really need home care, or my mom, or my sister, my neighbor, we will come to your home, we will help you go through your income, we will help you go through your assets, and we will help you apply for Medicaid should you be within that realm. And we have a good eye. I used to work for the county. I have colleagues that have done Medicaid their whole life as a career, and we know what we're talking about. So that's light at the end of the tunnel. It's free. Let us screen you and let us tell you whether you're within that realm or not. The other loophole, and I'll get into our services, but I just want to talk about Medicaid because I want to piggyback off of what Donna said. The other loophole to Medicaid is what Donna touched on, is pooled trust. That name should be written down somewhere because it's huge. It's a loophole to getting Medicaid. What it means is, and I'll give you a typical scenario. I'm Miss Jones and I need home care and I make too much money a month, and that's what Medicaid says. So right now, Medicaid says, pay me on Medicaid. Pay Medicaid $1,000 a month, Miss Jones, because you have too much money. You can keep $845 to live off, but you make, like Donna said, $1,845 a month. So you give away $1,000 of your money a month, and we'll give you Medicaid. So most of the time, people say, all right, goodbye. I need that $1,000 to live off of, so I'm done with you. That's not where it has to end. Pooled trust is an option where they say, okay, I'm Miss Jones, and I'm $1,000 over in my income, but guess what? I can show that I have Central Hudson, mortgage, car payments, food costs, and you tally up those costs with a professional. We do this as well, and I think Office of the Aging may be starting this, right, pooled trust soon? Todd talked about it a little bit. Okay, once again, I'm not vouching for Office of the Aging, but Hamaspik does do this. Elder planning attorneys do this, but we do it for free, so... But anyways, pooled trust allows you to demonstrate that you have an income that you also are using to live off of. And by virtue of this plan, this program that's in the community, it's also free. For the most part, there is a $20 to $25 a month fee. But it eliminates that $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 spend down. And thus you get Medicaid, and thus you get our services. Transportation, home-delivered meals, an aide, a nurse to pre-pour meds, case management, physical therapy, everything comes to your home. So that's just another note that you always should know about, which is pooled trust. I don't know why it's a secret. Donna is gracious enough to talk about it because I know a lot of Office of the Agings don't mention it. But it's such a loophole to Medicaid, and it's not a trick. It's a real program. It's a community-based program. So that's that. One is Medicaid to apply is free. Don't diagnose or don't determine your own eligibility. And two is there's pooled trust if you are over the income and asset. Okay, so our services. So what we do is home care. So once we get you within that realm of Medicaid and we help you apply, and Medicaid says, sure, we're going to help them, they're going to get the pooled trust or whatever it may be, our services kick in. And our services cover everything that you need in your home. So an aide to help with anything from cleaning, dishes, laundry, running errands, all the way to showering, bathing, and the whole nine. We also provide transportation to and from any scheduled medical appointments. And I say scheduled because if you were to dial 911, that's not going to be us. It's not emergency ambulance. That's still your Medicare or that's still whatever insurance you have. What we provide is transportation to oncology, podiatry, any of those regular things. And that's a lot, especially with, the fact that as you age, you may have a lot of specialty visits and a lot of doctors. So we do that. Every person that enrolls with our service, we're a non-for-profit home care service, gets not only a nurse, but a care manager. So that's somebody you can call and say, I just got this form in the mail from Social Security. Do I dump it? Do I keep it? What do I do with this? That's someone you can call. My mom, her aide didn't show up, or, we want to get more hours. That's somebody you call. It's a go-to person, somebody who sits 5 feet from me. It's not like your typical insurance where you call and you're on no man's land. You're calling Timbuktu. So it's real people that really help you. So that's important. All of the therapies, so to minimize having to leave the home unnecessarily so, we want you to go out and socialize and do swing dancing, whatever else it is that you do in your free time. But all the therapies come to the home, and that's huge. A lot of our members say, why have to go out another time for that? I go physical therapy 3 times a week. That person comes to the home, so that's huge. I left brochures in the back, and if you take a look at them, in the center panel of those brochures is a list of many services that you're entitled to once you're enrolled in a managed long-term care plan. What is also important to know is that none of this is binding. So if you get better from whatever injury you've incurred or whatever diagnosis you're dealing with, or you get worse, it goes with you or it stops. You need more, you get more. You don't want it, it stops. Nothing is binding. I find that a lot of people feel fear of signing on to anything. So it's important for you to know that this is a voluntary program. Just like the services through Office of the Aging, you need it, we're here for you. You don't, that's where it ends. Another program that we oversee and that we cover that I want to make mention of is consumer-directed care. Some of our competitors do not cover this. They also don't cover nursing. We cover everything that the state says you should be entitled to because, one, we find value in keeping people as safe as possible in their home. But consumer-directed care is important to know about because you may be thinking in your mind, wow, I or my mom could really use an aid, but she'll never let anybody in. I'm going to be, her caretaker for the rest of my life because she's scared of strangers. And that's a valid feeling to have. What I want to say is consumer-directed care is for that person. What it does is it allows Miss Jones, my fake person, to have her daughter, her neighbor, her church friend, anyone that they deem be their aide. And what we do is cut that person a check every month, in so many words. They don't have to go through formal training or have any certification. It's a very streamlined service for either people who don't already have something working, meaning they've already paid somebody or they already know somebody or their daughter or somebody, or maybe they live in a rural area, a faraway area, Dover Plains, Millertons, and there's a shortage of aides. And then we say, hey, do you know somebody who would like to be your caregiver? And we pay them to be the aide. So that's important for you to know because I get a lot of people that say, I really would love this for my mom, but she'll never let anybody in the house. That's an option for them. What else?
So could someone then, if they were paying someone private pay, right, for many years, now their resources are down to the Medicaid limit, so instead of spending every penny, at least keep $14,000, apply for Medicaid, and then they can still keep that aid and you can pay that.
That's a really good scenario, Donna. It is. I thought she was giving me a plug here. No, she's giving me a lead. So yes, Donna's saying that a lot of times, especially in Rhinebeck, we do see a lot of people are paying privately for care, and that's all fine and dandy. The scenario is you may get to a point that you don't want to spend all of those resources, right? You might want to keep it as a rainy day. You might want to gift it to your children. If you are currently have someone in place, yes, you can switch that aid to our plan once you're Medicaid eligible, and we will continue the payment under our rates. You may be paying them $50 an hour. We don't know what you're paying them. They'll have a rate understanding with whatever agency. Sometimes that comes in place. Sometimes we're paying them more than you're paying them, and the aid lucks out, right? So that is an option.
Is this available only in Dutchess County, or?
We cover 6 counties. All of New York State, though, has something like this. We cover everything in the Hudson Valley, our specific plan, but all of New York State is a mandated state, which means you have to access home care through a plan if you're under the Medicaid realm.
Can you talk to, explain the criteria to be eligible for Medicaid?
Yes. Okay, so, that's a good point too. Okay, so eligibility. Not only do you have to have Medicaid, that has to come into play, but keep in mind, remember, we screen and we do home visits for free, so let us determine that. Once you're at that point, or at the same time, you have to either need or be in the realm of needing some sort of ADL, bathing, dressing, toileting, walking, something hands-on. So you may be thinking, oh, I could really use their taxi service, or I really want to get physical therapy in my home. And that's great. The option is that you have to have some level of hands-on need. And I say that with caution because we have clients that get physical hands-on care round the clock every day of the week. And then we have clients that get help with a shower a couple days a week because their daughter's there on the other days, and that's really all of the gray area where they need help. So keep that in mind. You can't just enroll. The state will not allow us to assist you with just those other services. You have to have a hands-on need, and then everything else is what I call a bonus. You're going to get an aid should you need it and want it for housekeeping and running errands and taxis and social work. But you have to have a hands-on need. And that's not a written in stone eligibility. What happens is that the state sends a nurse. So we get Miss Jones on the phone. Miss Jones has Medicaid and she needs home care, meaning an aid. Miss Jones will have to have an assessment with the state, which is called Maximus. So Maximus is an assessment center. They send a nurse to the home, and the nurse will meet with Miss Jones. So if you are somebody thinking, oh, I need this, or I know somebody who needs this, it's important, especially as if there's professionals here, to advocate that that person disclose their level of need. And I say that because if Miss Jones sits in front of the nurse and says, you know, I'm fine, I really just want someone to, you know, walk the dog, make me a hot meal, put on my favorite show, and that's it. But the daughter says, she's falling, she really needs help, I'm doing everything and I'm burnt out. You need the daughter at that time of the visit. The nurse is not going to read that person's mind. So when you are at the point where you or someone you're thinking about needs this, make sure you have the conversation that, Miss Jones, make sure you let them know what you're like on your worst days, what you've been dealing with, what we've been talking about. It doesn't mean an aide is coming in there round the clock to take away your independence or your privacy. It means you're going to be found eligible. And then you can talk about when the aide is coming in and how often. So it's important to know that. You can call me at any time. I'm going to leave my information in the back as far as if you have questions, if you want to pick my brain about a situation, or if you have somebody in mind. And I'm local representation, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
And I'll vouch for the fact that she's available and accessible. She's visited with one of our Rhinebeck at Home members and spent some serious time talking about the what ifs and can we do, and very much appreciated. Okay, well, thank you. Of course.
I forgot to make a plug for our summer events. We, every summer, do themed events to not only thank our members, but also share this free information and free services, paid for via Medicaid. But I want to let you know that this summer we're looking for a place to host ice cream socials, barbecues, events, just a place to say thank you, you know, give back to the community and get feedback from you all to say this is what we need, this is what we want, and this is what our community needs. So if you want to touch base with me after this to say, hey, where I'm living could use this, or I know somebody who would love to have your information and also get fed, just let me know. Sorry about that. I just want to share that.
Okay, so we've heard from our local NY Connects, also statewide program delivered here in Dutchess County. We've heard from one of our Medicaid managed long-term care programs, Hamaspik, from Maureen. And now we're going to hear, and I just have to add that I noticed as I'm listening to you that a lot of the issues you mentioned are up there on our thoughts that we had when we talked at our tables. So now I'm going to introduce MARION Power, who is a wonderful new resident here in our Hudson Valley. She moved here 3 years ago, right? Marion's been a nurse for over 35 years. She's worked in every conceivable area of nursing. She has a degree in art therapy, and she's most recently become certified as a geriatric care manager. So she, as a private consultant, can make a home visit and link you to the services we've heard about and others. Marion.
Yeah, I have at the back table some sheets that talks about what a geriatric care manager is, because because I think a lot of people don't know. So basically, it's either a nurse or a social worker who is going to focus on issues of aging as a resource, an advocate, and a guide. I would recommend, usually I get called by children, older children whose parents are having trouble. Either there's a mental situation that's deteriorating, or they've come back from the hospital, and however they were living independently is not working very well. So I will go in and I'll do an assessment, which is pretty broad-based, safety, cognitive issues, medical issues, and then I'll do some kind of plan of care, which is listing priorities about where are they hitting problems, and recommendations, using resources in the community, trying to put together a puzzle. Each one is a unique puzzle. Do they have family? Do they have friends? Where could they get help specifically for what they need? So I'm creating a network of support, trying to help them create a network of support, and coordinating with doctors, maybe going to the visit if they need advocating, they're not asking questions, they don't understand what's happening. I think it's good to call Office for the Aging first. I think what I do is more detailed. It's going to be going in, spending time, maybe doing family meetings, talking with different family members, finding out what specifically is the problem, and really going into detail on that piece. Everyone should have, in this room, should have a power of attorney in place, should have a healthcare proxy, and a living will. And you do need an attorney to do a power of attorney. Anybody, I could do, or other people can do, a living will and a healthcare proxy. It really just needs witnesses. You don't need to pay someone to do that. I came into this as a nurse. I ended up in 2010 taking care or coordinating care for my parents, who had been divorced for 35 years. They both had dementia. One lived in California and one lived in Nova Scotia. And their second spouses had died, and they both needed care. My dad was in California with good caregivers and a big house, and we decided as siblings to put my parents back together. And we moved my mother to California, and she hadn't seen my father in a pretty long time, and we didn't know if it would work. When she walked in the door, they looked at each other. They both had dementia. My mother had Alzheimer's and my dad had vascular dementia. She walked in the door, they took hands, and they looked at each other and started laughing. And we felt like, this is a good sign. This would work. So it's a very good example of thinking outside the box. And it worked incredibly well. We saved them a ton of money because they shared caregivers, they shared a house, they shared expenses, they kept each other company. I think isolation is the biggest risk for older people. So this is a good example of thinking outside the box. And again, as I visit with families, I think more and more, as I said, each family is a unique situation, and to look at it with an eye toward what could work for this family. And maybe a lot of it might be thinking outside the box, because we don't all have a lot of money. We don't, if you can put together, I have one client in Catskill Mountains who's about 87, he lives by himself. He's mobile, and he mostly is with it. He has a little bit of dementia. But he has nieces who comes, cuts his hair, does shopping for him. He pays a caregiver 3 hours a day, 4 days a week. He has relatives around who come and visit him and drive him. And he's doing incredibly well. He's a great example of piecing together different pieces, and it's working really well for him right now. And it's impressive, because I don't always see that. I think my main job is to help navigate systems. Another client I have, he has a health savings account. He has a little bit of dementia. He has a health savings account that he didn't even know he had from his company. And it's got $15,000 in it, because they're putting money in it every year. He didn't even know that was happening. He's paying all his medical bills. and he could be getting reimbursed for all these things and using that account. So we found that out, and we're going through all his medical bills and getting reimbursements for him. So this is something else. I mean, there's just so many different things that you don't necessarily foresee. What else? I think the main thing is that it's always a balancing act. It feels like we were talking about this at our table. People are getting older, and we sort out a certain piece of the puzzle, and things are working for a while, and it looks very good, and things are stable. And then there's some decline of some sort. We get older, and things change. So it's really working with the family. I do a lot of family meetings. If the children come in from out of town, try and get everyone together, and keep talking about what we're going to do and how things are moving and changing, and to try and stay fluid with the process with the family, and thinking outside the box. I think those are the things that have brought me to this, and it's really fun. I'm enjoying it because each family is unique, and it's a challenge. It's a good challenge. Yeah.
Do you charge for your service?
Yes. So yes, I do. I charge privately. Medicare will not pay for geriatric care management. If you have a long-term care policy, it often will pay, or a health savings account will pay. I charge $100 an hour, and I'm happy to do a sliding scale if that's needed. And I'm very efficient with my time. I can just come and do an assessment and write out a plan of care, and maybe take 3 or 4 hours and sort through some issues and just try and get some things in place and give you ideas of how to go forward. And I think mostly that's where I can be helpful is if a family comes to a point where they just feel they're confused, they don't know how to go forward, I can come in and help with just trying to organize and list out some things that we can do that are practical and that will get them on track, and also give them options. Like you were talking about, you have 3 options. So working with a situation, an issue they have, and sorting through, okay, what are our options? What can we do? And laying those out and discussing them either with them or with the family, and trying to create something where they can move forward and see what the consequences might be of that, understanding that. So I think that's about all I need to say. My card is on the back at the table if you want to get in touch with me.
So are there more questions, comments? Yes,
I
Barbara?
just have one question.
Yeah.
To yourself, Marion. Having come to this the way you have, and doing what you're doing now and your own experience, is there anything that you could advise us that we might have done earlier on? How's that work? Well, a little tip.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's none of it is a surprise. The thing that we talked about with Nina the last time about these 5 things, the people that I see that do the best are those people that stay mobile and have good mental function. So waste, and we can't say that because you do those things you're not going to end up with a problem.
Sure.
We can't say that because you're going to do those things that you won't end up with a problem. But so staying as healthy as you can, having a really good relationship with your primary care physician. If you have a primary care physician that doesn't communicate well and you can't talk with well, I would change now, before, not later. That's one thing you could do. Get your healthcare proxy, your living will, your power of attorney in place. People who don't have those in place, it's harder then to do it, especially if there's dementia happening. Finances are key. Finding out, just sit down and write down your monthly income, all of your assets, how much money you think you have. To do a 24/7 care costs about $200 a day, minimal. It could be more than that. To do hourly could be anywhere between $20 and $25 an hour if you're privately paying. I think seeing an elder, if you have any assets, either physical assets or income resources, you could say, if you think, chime in. I think it's good. I advise to see an elder care lawyer. Because I think it's good to spend the money if you have assets and set up a trust or do something like that. Because if in the future you need to have Medicaid and you didn't do the, you have this 5-year look back, it's better to do it now, or to at least inform yourself of what the rules are, so when that time comes, you're not taken by surprise. You know what the scoop is, and you know you had a choice to set up a trust or not, and to move some of those things out of your name and give them to your children, or however you want to do that. I think it's always good to spend the money and just find out, and we could give you some names of elder care lawyers here if you like. And isolation, keep active. Keep your mind active, keep your body active. I don't think I can't underestimate that. When I see the clients that I see, I think that's the most important thing in a way. Just to stay engaged.
And volunteer.
Volunteer,
That's
there you
been
go.
proven one of the successful ways.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, wow. And your card's in the back.
What?
Your card. Where are you based?
I'm in Red Hook. Yeah, and I just have my own company. I'm the only employee. I started about 1.5 years ago.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good for me. I hope I'm doing a good job.
I'm sure there's a need. Yeah.
I call him Maureen all the time.
More questions? Yes, Susan.
I hope you can hear me. I was just thinking, if you guys were talking, I have a will, I have power of attorney, I have healthcare proxy and all that good stuff. They were all done in 2005. Should I periodically be redoing all those things?
Yes. The operator.
Review them, and if they're still good,
the operator.
if your healthcare proxy is still the person you want, just make sure they know what you want. Some people assign a healthcare proxy, but then they don't talk to them about what they want.
Yeah.
So just be sure that you inform them, and I think it's fine. You can even go to another state, and they're still good.
And that they have a copy of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the power of attorney has changed, right? There's a
Do you have the new power of attorney?
New health.
The old ones are honored, though.
They're still good. It's just that the wording in it has changed for the durable power of attorney after 2009, I think, 2010.
Yeah.
So if you ever looked it up on the internet,
You would see that there are different forms, but basically power of attorney, as long as the information, addresses, there's signatures, it was notarized, dated, you're fine. Yeah, and just a plug for Office for the Aging. If you are 60 years of age or older, we do have an attorney that is at our office every Friday. We contract out with him to provide that service for you all. There is no charge. And he does do some basic wills and power of attorneys, health proxies, things like that. So please remember that. I think there's a little sign for a donation, but you don't have to give a donation. But use that service. Use our service. We are there. You're over 60, if many of you are. Please give us a call. There's so many other services I'm sure I forgot about.
Oh, and I want to say one more thing. If you're the other thing that I really get involved with is if you're a spouse taking care of a person who needs a lot of care, one of the things that I think I'll focus on and important to remember is that the caregiver needs as much attention and care as the person they're caring for. And I really have to keep that in my mind because they can just wither. And if no one's paying attention to that, it's a very difficult job to be on with a spouse or a family member 24/7. So keep that in mind, that that person needs a lot of care and respite. And there are places in the county to do respite where they can get a break for 5 days.
Okay, more questions? Yes.
The attorney you're referring to, is that elder care attorney?
he's an attorney.
He is
does
elder
care.
He's in the
In the list for elder care
yeah.
attorneys.
I would
Yes.
like to find an elder care attorney, that's why.
So
He's got that specialty.
If you are interested in an appointment with the attorney, the process is you call our main number, 845-486-2555, Dutchess County Office for the Aging, and you should always get a person that answers the phone. and you let them know you want an appointment with the attorney. And then they'll take your name, your address, phone number. They'll want to make sure that you're over 60, so they might ask you your date of birth. Yeah, and then they will get you on a list. Now, if you were to call today and want an appointment on Friday, I'm sure you're not going to get one. You're right. So know that there is a list they'll put you on. But yeah, he moves fairly quickly.
Or if this is someone that you had sorry, I can't speak.
I can hear you.
Do you see people privately? I mean.
Yes, so the service is for the person that's in Dutchess County that is 60 years of age. So if I called and I wanted to bring Dad, I want to go for Dad. That's not happening. Dad, I can go with Dad, but it is for the person that is over 60 in Dutchess County. Yeah, you will.
You may have to wait a while.
There may be.
Yeah.
We don't want to
And
say
they
why.
do ask you the reason, not that they prioritize the reason, but if it's, for instance, a housing emergency where you're having tenant-landlord issues, you probably get in before somebody who needs to redo the power of attorney. But it moves right along. And he is elder law, yeah. And he's been there for 20, 25 years, long time. Very, very, caring.
Giant.
Yeah, he's big. I mean, any other questions? Well, thank you all so much for sharing. And thank all of you for coming. It's wonderful to have you here. It's wonderful that so many of you really wanted to start this journey with us. And note, I said start because we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more that we can learn together. I do want to remind you that that wonderful film that some of us saw at Upstate called Hair is going to be shown here in the cafeteria conference room on Tuesday, August 1st at 2 o'clock.